Good morning, afternoon, and evening, guys. We're back with another random tier list. Today, we are diving back into the wonderful world of entertainment. Taking a break for a couple days, well, at least for today, from some video games, and I'm going to be diving into Spider-Man. Spider-Man, one of the best superheroes of all time, one of my favorite superheroes of all time. This tier list will be going over No Way Home as well. So if you have not seen that new movie, I'm not going to tell you the whole plot in this video, but I will be talking about why I either like or dislike the movie. So if that is a spoiler for you, you may want to click off before I talk about that one. I will let you know right before I talk about that movie. However, if you've seen the trailers, so if you haven't seen any trailers, I guess this is a spoiler. So you're warned. If you've seen the trailers, you know that there's villains from previous Spider-Man movies in No Way Home. So as I'm talking about those previous movies, I may also be mentioning No Way Home as a reference point. So you've been warned. There's that. If you guys like random tier lists, definitely subscribe to the channel. I do all kinds of different stuff. Leave a like, comment, all that good stuff if you feel like, letting me know how I did. If you totally disagree with me, agree with me, whatever. All that good stuff, all right? So we're going to go ahead and get going. Our tier list here has masterpiece down to terrible. Simple, S through F tier, basically. My cat has joined me on the bed behind me, and he is either licking or fighting his brother. I'm not sure. So if you hear some jingling, that is his bell. Well, we're getting a little festive for the holiday. Speaking of which, oh my gosh. All right, I've shooed them away. I'm planning out some Christmas videos too. So let me know in the comments if you guys have any ideas for that stuff you'd like to see. All right, we're going to go ahead and start. We're going to go in chronological order, not the order that's down here. We're going to start with the original Spider-Man. This is Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. He fought Green Lantern in this Green Goblin in this movie. Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin, who after seeing No Way Home was just fantastic. And I have not rewatched the Tobey Maguire Spider-Mans in a long time, so somebody may really criticize me for that, but I think that Tobey Maguire, the original Spider-Man, is great. There are definitely issues of it not aging well. And I think that the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man's had that early 2000s, 90s New York thing. And I don't know if this is a thing for anybody else, but as a millennial, all these movies from my childhood took place in New York. And it was this expectation that you knew what New York looked like, especially in the wintertime. And I don't know if anybody else feels that way, but that's how all of the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, especially the first one, feel to me, right? There's the Macy's Day Parade, and there's just New York in general. And when I saw this movie as a kid, that was all new to me. Not that it was a bad thing, but it was just you see all these movies as a kid that take place in New York, and it's oh, I've seen this in another movie, but you don't really know what you're looking at. So that's not really a good thing or a bad thing. It's just kind of a thing for me about these movies. And there's some nostalgia there, but there's also some level of not wanting to rewatch the movie so much, if that makes sense. So I do think it was great, though. Honestly, no super big criticisms about this movie. Secondly, we have Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2, I think I have to put in decent tier. I do like the movie. Doc Ock is a great villain. But I don't know that enough happened in this movie to say that it was a great movie. It definitely wasn't bad, right? It's not a terrible movie. I'm not putting it down any lower than this. But yeah, I'm just not sure enough happened. I also didn't really like the concept of Doc Ock's arms, his AI arms, controlling him. Because it just didn't feel like they were advanced enough to do that. I guess they were artificial intelligence, but I don't know, why are these robots suddenly evil? And maybe it just gave me the creeps as a kid. I'm not sure, but we're going to put it down in decent. And No Way Home spoilers. 3, 2, 1. When he gets cured in No Way Home, it's really cool to see, the change in his character and to see that Doc Ock character, his arms used in a different way. As well as when Spider-Man takes over the arms, you have a little bit of the... I don't remember what it's called, but in the comics, Spider-Man gets Doc Ock's arms at one point, or there's a universe where he does, and I think it's in the TV show too. So seeing a little bit of that in No Way Home was really cool. Next, we have Spider-Man 3. Spider-Man 3 gets a lot of flack, and I think it does deserve some of it. because Spider-Man 3 has some amazing parts. Honestly, Spider-Man 3 has some parts that if the whole movie was like this, it would be up here. But it also has some parts where it should be down here. So in my mind, it's a very polarizing movie because they tried to put so much in it that it was difficult to follow at times. The Venom stuff, though, and the Tobey Maguire turning pretty dark, that stuff was great. Um, and the New Goblin stuff was great. But I like the Sandman and putting him in there. I liked his character, but it just felt like there was a lot in the movie. I did like how they explored his character a little bit more in No Way Home, where he was not evil per se. He really just wanted to get home to see his daughter. So there's a lot of levels to that. I really wish we would have seen New Goblin, James Franco's New Goblin, in No Way Home. Unfortunately, we didn't. So I think I'm going to go with great for this movie. I honestly may have to move it down to decent. I am a bigger fan of Spider-Man 3 than Spider-Man 2, though. So for what that's worth. So I know that might be an unpopular opinion with Spider-Man 3. I don't know. We'll see. Amazing Spider-Man, I really liked. I thought Andrew Garfield was fantastic. I was a big Andrew Garfield fan at the time. I really liked the changes that they made to the story to make it more central to the comics. And until I really started seeing Tom Holland, I thought it was a big mistake to move away from Andrew Garfield. Um, but it ended up, I mean, after seeing them all in No Way Home, I've already warned you about spoilers. Sorry. I have already warned you. After seeing all three Spider-Mans in No Way Home, um, Tom Holland is very easily the best Spider-Man in terms of who just portrays that character the best. It also doesn't help that Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield are both older now as well. But I think it was the right decision in the long run to reboot. But at the same point, I really liked how Amazing Spider-Man set up the world. The original Spider-Mans, Tobey Maguire Spider-Mans, they did this thing that old superhero movies do where it's very much they're grounded in just what's going on in that movie. Whereas the newer ones and I'm not talking MCU, I'm talking just Amazing Spider-Man here. They set up the universe, they set up the world a little bit more. You felt like you could have some spin-off movies from this, and they were planning some. So it felt like you could have something to do with Oscorp, right? There was branching things here. You had some teases of like, maybe we can get Kingpin, maybe we can get the Sinister Six, right? So you had some teases of these other villains, and you did eventually get like Rhino, even for a minute. You did eventually get a lot of these other villains between Amazing Spider-Man and Amazing Spider-Man 2, but obviously there were some issues with that movie too. Speaking of issues, Amazing Spider-Man 2 had the same issues that Spider-Man 3 had, where they tried to shove too much into the movie. This movie gets some credit for me because when Gwen Stacy dies, I think I cried. Because that is very similar to how she dies in the comics, and they did actually kill her. I was not expecting them to actually kill her in the movie. I thought that he would save her and it'd be a great thing. And then continual spoilers here for No Way Home. When he saves MJ, Zendaya in No Way Home, I did not cry, but oh my gosh, that was so awesome to see. So you get that redemption from his character, seeing him finally able to save the love interest of Peter Parker. So it's like No Way Home made a lot of these movies better by comparison because it finished out the stories of Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. Though that in itself does not make this a better movie. Spider-Man 2, I'm going to have to put down here, or Amazing Spider-Man 2, I'm going to have to put down here in decent. Yeah. I do like Andrew Garfield over Tobey Maguire, at least at the time I did. Though, as I said, it's been a long time since I've seen the Tobey Maguire movies, and I do think that I do need to rewatch them. So, if you're watching this in the future, there may be a posted comment, a pinned comment down below with my thoughts after rewatching them. Continuing on here, I'm going to tackle Into the Spider-Verse right now. I thought Into the Spider-Verse was a great movie. Very standalone. I love the concept of Miles Morales, which they teased again in No Way Home. Miles Morales is a great switch from the Peter Parker Spider-Man, and this movie being animated, did a lot of cool stuff that the other movies didn't. Definitely think they could keep going with this. I don't remember if they're making another one, but I think it would do well if they did. It was a great movie. I don't have much else to say. It's probably better than Spider-Man 3. Let's see here. It's probably better than the original Spider-Man 2. This is another one I should probably rewatch. I've only seen it once. And all these other movies I've seen at least twice. I guess other than No Way Home. All right. And now we have Tom Holland. Spider-Man... Oh, we have to start with Homecoming. Spider-Man Homecoming was amazing. Great return to Spider-Man. Fantastic movie in what felt at the time like it was just going to be a one-off film. They ended up not going that route. They ended up obviously making an entire series off of him within the MCU, though it does appear that time might be over now. And what started as one movie became a trilogy. And Spider-Man Homecoming is amazing. It was at the time my favorite Spider-Man movie, and it was not very close. So while I'm not putting this in masterpiece tier, do understand that there is a big gap here between Spider-Man Homecoming and Amazing Spider-Man. Next, we have Spider-Man Far From Home. I think this movie was great. When I first saw it, I might have thought it was better than Homecoming, but upon watching it and everything, and just letting it sit, sometimes you need movies to just sit and simmer. It wasn't that good. Well, I mean, it was good, but it wasn't as good as Homecoming, right? So I'm going to put it down here in the great category. It probably is better than the original Spider-Man. This is probably an opinion thing and whether or not you like Tobey Maguire or Tom Holland better in those movies. So I'll go ahead and put it right here in between Spider-Man and Spider-Man 3, the originals. I'll give Tobey Maguire and his fans the respect there and put him in the middle and say that, yeah, I do need to rewatch this, and it may go up after that. Spider-Man 2 also, I know this one got great reviews, so let me know if that's actually your favorite movie. That's one I do need to rewatch, but I just don't have very good memories about it. I just don't remember it being that great. Not terrible, though. All right, and the time we've all come for, Spider-Man No Way Home. I think this movie was an absolute masterpiece. I really have nothing else to say. The movie was absolutely beautiful. Okay, I do have more to say, but there's nothing else I can say to summarize it other than it was a masterpiece. Bringing in the additional Spider-Man, bringing in the additional villains, doing all that stuff. The story was great. It made sense. It had massive implications for the rest of Tom Holland's story and the rest of the MCU in general, which is something that a lot of these movies, I mean, in general, right? Like, in most superhero movies, you don't want to do something that'll have these super far-reaching consequences because then you have to deal with that. And I think something that Marvel has been doing a great job on is having actual stakes, having actual things happen, like the blip, like Thanos snapping half of the universe out of existence, and then all of them coming back 5 years later. And I think Falcon and the Winter Soldier did a great job of showing that, where there's actual issues here, where you have people, for 5 years, borders were open. There was less population, so there was more demand for workers. Unemployment was low. There's a lot of good things happening for the people who were still on the planet. And then 5 years later, everybody comes back and it changes. So Spider-Man No Way Home also was not afraid to dive into things like that, dive into stakes, where the effects of his spells have wide-reaching consequences on the MCU, where I don't even know that he's in the MCU anymore, right? I think that was the point of this, was to write him out of the MCU because Sony wants to keep him. And there's also now a Venom in there, so they can do another Spider-Man standalone movie with Venom, with a new version of Venom. Perhaps it goes to Flash Thompson, who is one of the Venoms in the comics, and that would make his character more interesting. So yeah. Very interesting things that could still come from that. I'm so impressed by this movie and their willingness to take a lot of chances and do a lot of things that the community and the fans would love. This movie is an absolute masterpiece, and if you have not seen it yet, well, I just ruined the whole movie for you. But if you have not seen it yet, go see it. I'm probably going to be seeing it again myself. And that is the list, guys. This is my Spider-Man tier list. I don't think any of the Spider-Man movies are terrible, even the ones I don't like as much, like Amazing Spider-Man 2 and Tobey Maguire Spider-Man 2. Both of those are at least decent. And some of these movies are really, really good, too. So let me know in the comments what you think. I already shilled enough at the beginning. There'll be another video up tomorrow, though, because I am the guy who makes random tier lists. And I'm signing.